Chapter 3, The Last Christmas. Kira is typing on his computer at the office. Just a few days before the holiday break, he is trying to finish up the work and project that's being assigned to him. Over the past few months, Kira has got used to the routine, waking up every day, getting to work, early hours in the morning, take odd breaks. There are occasions where Kira skips lunch, but most days he eats by himself in front of his desk. And as always, most cases, he's the last to leave the office, closing up, heading home, consuming a bit of supper before brushing his teeth and going to sleep. Day in and day out, these consistent yet peaceful lives is what Kira more or less expected after he graduated university. He thinks to himself as how his peaceful days and weeks has been and envisioned this for the remainder of this year and many, many years to follow. He's suddenly taken back and brought back to reality by the breaking news that's playing on the TV at the office corner. Over the past few weeks, various news channels have interviewed experts after experts and researchers, astronomers, all with the latest technology trying to identify this object that's moving closer and closer towards the planet Kira calls home. And today, breaking news again. We have seen this object moving closer to Earth. We are trying to identify if this astronaut is of danger. All we can tell for now that it is not as big as we originally thought. A few kilometers in diameter, it's traveling relatively fast. What's puzzling the scientists is that it is followed by a large cluster of gas. And the one scientist repeated, "We do not know the composition of this nature of the gas. All we can see is that it is flung around the astral and moving in unison." Kira looks down and thinks to himself, this is abnormal. When you have a solid object followed by a cloud of gas, usually the speed at which the solid travel is much faster than the gas. So in Kira's rational thinking, he would thought the solid object would leave the gas behind many, many times. Yet this is not the case. Kira looks up again, trying to understand the story behind the scientific explanation. The scientists continue to explain, and a few minutes later, Kira gets bored. He looks down and continues to work. That night, as Kira is heading home, sitting on the train all alone, he continued to think and think again about what was said. And for the life of him, he cannot think about a reason why this cloud of gas would not just dissipate through space. And by all scientific knowledge, this shouldn't be the case. As Kira arrives at home, he finally stretches. He scrolls up through his watch. A screen comes up as he views the different source channels about news articles around the city, around the world, continues to relax. He sets in as he heads towards the bedroom, continue his daily routine. He lays in bed and says, oh, well, maybe I can't figure out what's happened, but hopefully all the experts will be able to. And if they cannot, surely the artificial intelligence that's working 24 hours behind the clock should be able to figure this out. Many, many years ago, the society that Kira grew up in was dominated by artificial intelligence. Everything from daily tasks to calculations to most of the daily activities done by human beings are controlled and monitored by AI. From the taps that's running through the water, through the purification, collection, these are all done by automated machineries. There's no human supervision whatsoever. And this has been the case for hundreds of years. Looking out on the street, the shops don't really have shop owners. There is some machine that oversees everyone coming into the shop. And essentially, as people walk out of the shop, payments are automatically deducted from their watches. And that's less administration and less manual labor demanded. And most of the cars, planes, and other transportation um, um, methodologies are all driven by machines. There's no drivers, there's no need for drivers as human beings became more and more reliant on this machinery. And as the structure and process of many cities and towns are done this way, it has made things much more easier, much more reliable. There's less errors and less human interventions. The next morning, Kira wakes up. As he takes his time strolling through social media and the web, he slowly gets out of bed and heads toward the kitchen. He realizes that there's only 2 days left at work, then he can take himself and enjoy a long holiday. All he thinks about is how he's going to be at home, enjoying the nice break where he can just play games all day and eat all night. As this is the case, and as Kira is looking, he sees a message on his watch. It's from the company. They are hosting a social event, and they are hoping that everybody will be able to attend. Kira has been given many opportunities, yet in the past, he's always come up with the excuse whether he's not feeling well or he's got a prior engagement that he cannot attend. He says to himself, well, maybe I'll just think up another excuse. Since I'm not really a social person, there's no need for me to engage with my colleagues. Then again, he thinks back to one of the meetings he had with his manager. Maybe what you're saying is right. If I'm going to be working at this company for a long period of time, perhaps I should put myself out there and try and like my colleagues and engage with them so that I know what kind of people I'm going to be spending time with. As they clean themselves up, Kira finishes breakfast and heads out. He locks the door and heads towards a long passage down the building, into the lift and into the yard. As Kira walks onto the main road, he sees less and less people out and about. And he says, wow, this is the holiday seasons where people all are cooped up, enjoying their life, and not many people on the road. As Kira slowly strolls towards the station, he gets up onto the train and the bullet train starts slowly heading towards Kira's workplace. Kira looks at his watch and continues to read through some of the news articles. As he heads towards the office, once again, he's the first one. He opens up and starts looking through the computer and some of the work that's being assigned to him. An hour later, some of the other colleagues walk into the office and starts chatting in the background. Another day goes by. Kira has done nothing except work. Today, he also skipped lunch, so he's a bit weak and he feels that once work is done, he can go home and enjoy himself. Suddenly, there's a red flash outside the window. Many of the colleagues get up and start looking. Kira ignores the chaos and continues to work. And then again, a bright, bright light flashes across the entire sky. And there's loud sounds and crashes all around. Kira starts feeling abrupt. He quickly gets up and looks outside a window that's closest to him. He sees there are some distant objects falling, and this is all followed by a red mist raging across the entire sky. Kira quickly turns on the phone trying to look up any information regarding to this unknown phenomenon. Yet there's nothing. There's nothing going on TV, no breaking news. This is strange, Kira thought to himself. As he continued to watch, there just seems to be objects falling, not causing too much of a chaos. And within minutes, there are these automated drones all lifting off from different areas around the city and heading towards these crashing sites. Kira sits down and ponders for a moment. While it doesn't seem like this is a big deal, however, Kira has never experienced a real horror or event like this. He continues to look through his watch and different news articles regarding to the event. Nothing comes to mind. Kira closes his workstation and heads towards the kitchen. He sees that it's already in the early evening. Work is almost over. Maybe today he will call it an early and head home. I mean, tomorrow's the last day of work. Why not? Kira thinks to himself. As he tried to grab a few snacks and water, he looks around. Most of the colleagues in the office are still standing by the window. Some of them are looking quite horrified. Some of them are still in shock. Others are trying to call. Maybe those people are trying to call their family to confirm that their safety. None of those matters to Kira since he pretty much grew up by himself and he doesn't have any brothers or other siblings that he needs to worry about. Kira finished consuming the food. He throws away the package and starts heading back to his desk. He closes most of his electronic devices and packs up his bag. And as soon as Kira starts heading out of the door, he sees that the lady sitting opposite him, May, looks up and says, "Kira, are you done for the day?" And Kira looks back. He says, "Yes, I think I'm going to call it early today. I have something that I need to do, some errands I need to run." And May looks with a smile across her face. "All right, I hope to see you tomorrow before we break off for the holiday. I'm not sure if you received the message about the company event that's also happening." Kira tried to force a smile as he said, I did see the information. However, I do have a prior engagement, so I don't think I'll be able to make it." May looks somewhat upset, yet she said, "All right, there's always next time. Have a great day." As Kira turns around, he heads out. And as Kira opens the door to the building, he heads onto the street. There's even less people now. The people that's already on the street are all looking in shock at the distance where some smoke and some emergency noise vehicles are all heading in those directions. None of that bothered Kira as he gets all his belongings and heads straight to the station. He passes a few shops where he grabbed enough materials and substance that he can consume for supper. As Kira gets off the station, there's still nothing that he could see on his watch about the news and these events that's happened. That's odd. Usually, if something like this happens, the first thing that would be informing the public would be published on various news articles. Yet there's nothing. Kira finds all of this very strange. As he heads off the station, he walks towards his own apartment where he is waiting to get back home. As he turns the street, he sees a big crater in front of him. He's a bit puzzled by this. There's no security, there's no safety, there is no emergency vehicle around. Why is there a huge hole here? This is absurd. When I came past this area in the morning, there was nothing. As Kira looks around, he doesn't see anyone. Maybe people that lives around the area already fled or they were retired back home. He walks slowly towards the crater and he looks down. It's only about a half-meter deep, yet at the bottom there's a strange glow of a red, faint light. Kira is intrigued. He looks at this glowing object with more and more curiosity. He slowly inches towards it. There's no smoke, no distinguished smell, nothing of any danger surrounds it. Kira slowly kneels down and reaches for the small object. It is not warm, it is not cold, yet it feels like a hot fire in Kira's hand. It does not burn his skin. Kira picks up this red object and looks at as he stands up. It's the red light has slowly fainted even more now, and it's returning to a rock-shaped color. Kira looks around it once again. There's no one around. Some cars parked in the distance. The street is clean. There's not even a robotic cleaning unit nearby. He picks up this object and puts it in his pocket. Oh, well, maybe someone threw it here, or maybe it's something of value. I'll keep it and return it to Lost and Found when I get an opportunity. As Kira walks back towards his apartment, he catches a lift all the way up to where he lives. He opens the door and enters, and the door is automatically locked behind him. As he enters, he turns on the TV and sees if there's any more news regarding this. Finally, breaking news, news anchor said, "We have just received some shocking images. Please be advised before watching these." The meteor or unidentified object that was heading towards Earth seems to have suddenly crashed. We did not have enough time essentially to prepare this, and a lot of the scientists' calculations done were all inaccurate. As a result, some of the astro was burned in space, and some of the remaining parts crashed into our planet. Kira is surprised. With all modern day technology, calculations done by a really smart AI, how could this have happened? He continues to watch in amazement as the news anchor explained more details. This object was heading towards Earth. Initially, we thought that it was not even going to cross our path, but suddenly something's changed, and it sort of almost changed trajectory as it was almost alive with a conscious and headed straight for our planet. And days later, the scientists and technicians that's working around this project decided to keep this from the public, and they did not publish any of the results or updates. As this is really, really surprising, Kira thought to himself, why would these people try to hide this from us? This is absurd. I mean, even though this thing is not big, it still crashed onto our planet. Who knows what kind of damage it could have caused? And as Kira watched the news, he felt hungry, a growl in his stomach. He heads into the kitchen and slowly prepares supper. Kira once again thought to himself, this is really strange. Situations like this should not be happening, and we as citizens deserve the right and transparency to know these kind of dangers that's heading towards us. Not only was this discovered months ago, the scientists had ample time to verify the details, check with the government officials, and notify all of the citizens. Yet none of these were done. This is not within protocol. As Kira finished preparing supper, he sits down and continues to watch some of the news that's displayed across the TV. He also pulls up the screen next to his watch, trying to check any articles. He comes to a social site where people are posting and giving random images about the crash that's happened. It seems that this is all over the city and for the rest of the world. But it seems that because the object wasn't very big, as soon as it entered our atmosphere, most of its body was burned up, and only a few small fragments started falling into the earth. And obviously, because this is such a high speed, these small objects still cause some damages towards the buildings and some of the ground around where they were landed. Kira is not fazed by this news. As he continued to consume supper, he looks outside the window. There's still a strange red fog that appears across the sky. Could this be the gas that's following the asteroid that was heading towards Earth? Kira thought to himself. Then he looked again at the red smoke across the entire sky. It can't be, right? I mean, how much gas could have been to cover the entire planet? That's not really feasible, and it's not applicable, scientifically speaking. As Kira finished up his supper, he put most of the dishes into a strange-looking dishwasher and headed towards his bedroom. He's had a long day, and with all the excitement, he feels that most of his energy has been drained. As he sits down, he realizes that a strange object is poking through his pocket. Oh, he almost forgot about the red stone that he picked up outside. He now reaches into his pocket and picks up this object. It's no longer red. It just looks like a plain rock. It's not glowing at all. Kira strangely examines this small rock. There's nothing glowing, no sense of amazement coming from it at all. Kira thinks to himself, what was this thing that was glowing and what caused it to stop glowing? And as Kira laid in his bed, his consciousness continued to linger on some of these thoughts, but as he becomes more and more fatigued, he falls asleep holding the rock on his right hand. The next morning, Kira is woken up by a sunlight shining across his face. He thought to himself, wow, I was so tired last night, it looks like I passed out. Didn't even bother closing the curtains. As Kira sits up, the lights automatically turned on. He looks outside. Oh, it's almost noon. What? Why didn't my alarm go off? As Kira heads back into the lounge and the kitchen area, he realizes that it is almost noon and he's way past the time for his work. He quickly grabs his things and heads out. And in that instant, he thinks to himself, why did no one try to reach out to me? Was the office closed? That can't be. Today must be the last day. He quickly turns on his watch as he locks the door and heads downstairs. All the news articles are flashing. As due to the emergency, most of the public and events and institutions are closed. Could all citizens please remain indoors as we try to figure out what has happened? Kira is puzzled by this. As he walks outside, he realizes that the atmosphere is still surrounded by this red smoke, and he looks around. There's no one around. He's somewhat surprised. As he tries to call the office, no one is picking up. He suddenly realizes, okay, maybe we were just given a holiday. As Kira heads back upstairs towards his apartment, he notices that the red smoke is not getting any lighter. Was this the same smoke that happened yesterday across the entire sky? The red gas does not pose any threat. He's able to breathe properly. He's able to see properly. It's just that these red dust particles is surrounding the entire city. As Kira closes the door behind him, he sits back down and realizes he's getting hungry again. He starts making breakfast and trying to scroll through some of the social media and news articles. It seems that due to the sudden event that happened yesterday across the entire city, government have decided to shut down most amenities and most offices. And before we are able to determine what this is, we are require all residents to stay indoors and stay safe until we obviously are able to determine and find the seriousness of this event. None of this really bothered Kira as he lives by himself anyway. He has enough food and he thought to himself, well, maybe it's an extended holiday. I might as well just enjoy myself. So for the next few days, Kira sat, played games, enjoyed his time off, and continued to watch the news as government tried to explain that they are trying the best they can to examine and figure out what this phenomenon has happened. But in the meantime, the inconvenience is causing its citizens, the government does understand and is trying the best it can to disperse this red mist. Days go by. Kira is enjoying his long extended holiday. And then he looks at the news saying that it's almost New Year's. I should actually maybe go out and stock up on food. Yet, when Kira looked outside on the street, there wasn't many people out. I guess due to the government encouragement, most people are staying at home. With this, Kira decided to order some food online and for the groceries to be delivered to him in person, as he did not want to go against the government's wishes. A few hours go by. There was a box that flew directly to Kira's door. This was delivered by one of the drones. And because modern technology, it's very convenient. Once you order anything online, it will be delivered to the address almost within the day. As Kira opened the door, he received all the food and groceries that he required. As he starts unpacking them, he thinks, well, I wouldn't mind if this was the life where I can just sit at home, order, play games, and not interact with anyone. Since I'm not a sociable person, this is a good life for me. As Kira closes the door, we inch towards New Year's. And a day before New Year's, Kira is still surprised that there hasn't been any mention of people returning to the office. How long are we going to be cooped up in our homes? Most people are saying on social media and not happy. Some of them wanting to go out, whether it's to go sight viewing or travel holidays. Other people are saying that even if you go to the stations, to the airports, to the ports, government officials are all there blocking entries and exit. Everybody must return home and no one is allowed out. As Kira looks, you did realize there were some police patrolling the neighborhood in the early mornings and in the early evenings. But other than that, there was no other amenities and anomalies. As Kira continued to relax in his apartment, enjoying the holiday, playing various games, reading news articles, and watching various entertainment programs, New Year's has come and gone. And now we are in January, the start of a new year. There was no New Year celebrations, no counting down, and no fireworks of any kind. All the news articles and channels were all focused on this event that just occurred. Kira thinks to himself, wow, is this how we're going to be for the foreseeable future? When will these circumstances change? End of chapter 3.